And finally, 14 years ago this week, on January 23rd, 2000, the WWE Royal Rumble pay-per-view from Madison Square Garden, one of the best Rumble pay-per-views of all time. We had the debut of Taz in WWE. This was when Kurt Angle came out, had a mystery opponent. Nobody knew who it was except the fact that everybody knew who it was. And Taz came out in New York City, in his hometown, got a huge reception. We talked earlier in the podcast here about Batista's reaction. It was good. It wasn't great. Well, Taz came out in the Garden. In the Garden, like Chicago and places like that, it's one of those buildings where you're almost guaranteed to get a big reaction if, let's say, somebody big is debuting or somebody big is coming back. And Taz was no exception. It's like everybody knew. They were just waiting. They were holding their breath. And when his music hit, they just went crazy. And he came out. He beat Kurt Angle, which was Kurt's first loss, although I think later on they determined that Taz used an illegal choke. So Kurt Angle was still technically undefeated until The Rock beat him a few weeks later. We had the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys' first ever table match on pay-per-view. We had the classic street fight between Triple H and Cactus Jack, which was the match, in my opinion, that put Triple H on the map as a true main event player. You know, I really didn't see him on that level until that night, until that match. I like this match a hell of a lot more than I like their Hell in a Cell match the month after. Unfortunately, this was also the same show that had the Miss Royal Rumble contest where Mae Young, God rest her soul, stripped down and took her top off and exposed herself to the world. And the censors that night were too slow and they were trying to put things over her. You know, it was just terrible. So a small blemish on what was otherwise a great pay-per-view show 14 years ago this week. And that's this week in wrestling.